Now, given that Netflix CEO Greg Peters and the many executives, producers, and even the board of directors over at Netflix HQ are having a very tough time with Love, Megan Season 2, given that there are multiple setbacks, there are multiple problems going on simultaneously, and one plus about all of this is that they actually started to take action against Meghan Markle, as we talked about in the last video. But what's interesting about all of this has a lot more to do with Meghan Markle's financial situation and the whole financial collapse that is actually very much active now, and we have a lot more to discuss. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about Meghan Markle is that we know that she is trying to obtain any chance that she can get to remain in Hollywood as a quote-unquote actress, to remain in the limelight, the spotlight, whatever it may be, and to remain relevant as far as she sees it. We all know that she's not relevant. That's basically how she believes she is in Hollywood at this point. But what's interesting about all this has a lot more to do with exactly what recently just happened with Meghan Markle's career as an actress, so to speak, and a lot of this has to do with a major Hollywood studio and, of course, other aspects that are getting thrown into this situation. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that, yet again, we know that Meghan Markle is in a state of panic. We know that she is doing everything in her power to get any kind of a cameo or a short role in a film and or television show, or to even land a major series of her own with a major studio in the film industry. Now, this is where it really gets interesting, is that with the Meghan Markle backlash only getting worse over time, the more she goes against the critics over with Love, Megan. One significant development going on now involves more to do with Meghan Markle and her financial collapse situation, and how this recently just got worse beyond belief. A crucial update to this entire situation now involves how Amazon MGM Studios is now deciding to drop Meghan Markle's entire plan for a reality TV show that was going to pay her an estimated, get this, $50 million plus for a 12-episode debut. Amazon is already deciding to step back from this project and instead wants to focus on their creative control over the James Bond franchise moving onwards. Now, with Amazon now officially backing away from Meghan Markle, which was going to be one, of course, major studio to support her, after Netflix gives her the boot in September, she is now in pure panic mode after looking for, of course, any other studio to pick up on her plans for a reality TV series. Now, this was best described as a major blow for Meghan Markle's financial status and her future in Hollywood. In addition to that, Meghan Markle and her backup plans to star in commercials for certain brands are also now no longer happening as well. One major commercial that Meghan Markle was supposed to star in for 2026 was going to focus on an entire advertisement for Samsung for the planned Samsung Galaxy S26 lineup. That deal, of course, with Samsung recently backfired after they, of course, learned about just how toxic and destructive Meghan Markle really is to any studio out there. Back to Amazon, however, the main reason why they backed out of the deal for Meghan Markle's reality TV series is that they themselves learned about the Netflix board turning on her through internal contacts, and Netflix, of course, with their actions, are creating the domino effect on Meghan Markle's financial future and even her current financial status. Now, Meghan's plan right now is to shift through, of course, tons of her own money for, of course, potentially creating her own web series, such as podcasts, and even a reality-style formatted show for the internet. This is her last resort, reportedly, if no studio picks up any of her ideas by the middle of 2026. Now, guys, let me say one thing about this, too, is that I'm quite shocked that Amazon finally learned a thing or two, especially after, of course, they've been dealing with a lot of setbacks with some of their shows. One thing is for certain is that we know that after the whole Katy Perry fallout, we talked about this, she was supposed to get a documentary about Blue Origin, the whole spaceflight situation, that all fell apart. And I guess once that fell apart, they too learned about how it would be a disaster to go for Meghan Markle as well. Now, that whole deal, that whole negotiation that was going on for a very long time, this was going on for a good 2 months. The whole Meghan Markle and Amazon reality TV show to kind of create Meghan Markle's own reality TV series. This was a long, thing. This was an ongoing thing that now fell apart and it is no more. And that's exactly why Meghan's getting very desperate, getting very bitter at this point. This is why her behavior has been very erratic lately, of course. What's even more interesting, though, beyond all of this, is that funding these shows on her own would cost tens of millions of dollars, and even those close to Markle are seriously urging her to never even pursue something like that. In addition to this as well, though, Markle is also panicking about her career after so much that she is now looking to attempt to make a deal with the Walt Disney Company after, of course, Amazon backed out of her reality TV show, and to create something on Disney+. So, again, look, this is probably when you're stooping so low, even lower than going for Amazon, that you have to go for Disney at this point. It can only make you wonder whether or not Disney themselves will even outright reject Meghan Markle. That's going to be a very interesting turn of events to see. Now, plans for a meeting between both Meghan's team and Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, and the board over there, are, of course, something that has been discussed between the two. Meghan is also struggling to create other brands, since she is no longer getting the proper funds that she needs to make those investments. Now look, we're talking about brands beyond As Ever, alright? Brands other than As Ever. She wants to create others out there, but she's not getting the proper funds to actually take part in those investments. So it seems like what she was trying to do, she was trying to use all these show opportunities to use the funds from those shows as investment opportunities to create other brands, and that's kind of creating a major halt on her end now, ever since Amazon called it quits with her, and the whole Samsung deal fell apart for 2026, and that's just the beginning, alright? This is just scratching the surface at this point. Now, she was also planning to actually create a full-on clothing line, which was put on hold as well after losing her deal with Amazon MGM Studios for a reality TV show on Prime Video. And again, look, this is exactly, what I like to always say. Everything is coming full circle. Things are getting back to Meghan Markle at this point. She's beginning to actually realize that, being very fake, inauthentic, and phony doesn't really keep you in the business in the long term. It may have worked in the short term for her, but in the long term, it is beginning to backfire on her career at a very rapid rate in 2025. You're seeing all of these Hollywood studios beginning to turn on her, beginning to just outright reject her. Even studios that were actually in heavy negotiations with her, they themselves are now beginning to say, yeah, it's probably not a good business model to embrace Meghan Markle, especially after what Netflix dealt with, right? And Netflix, mind you, they suffered a lot. I mean, they actually lost a lot of their loyal subscribers because of the whole With Love Meghan series, but not just that, because they also raised their overall rates for the subscription plans. That was another thing, right? So when you're raising rates and you're doing shows like Meghan Markle's series and you're taking away content like The Karate Kid Part 1 through 3, stuff like that, of course you're going to lose support. But overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about the whole Meghan Markle and Amazon situation and her financial collapse that is now only getting worse as time moves on, and everything else in between. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.